The time is now 5:01. I call this meeting of the Granbury Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections. 551.072, discussion of purchase, exchange, lease, and value of real property. 551.074, discussion of officers, employees, and personal matters. The time now is 5:02.
Test.
Test. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me okay?
Soccer thing, okay. Oh, that's right. I heard the test.
Hello? Okay, there we go. All right.
Where's the name soccer came from?
The time is now 6:04. The board is reconvening following an executive session. And we will start with our open session with an invocation by Dr. McDonald.
You'll bow with me. Father, we come before you tonight with heavy hearts as our district has been faced with the loss of two of our precious students. It is times such as these that we are reminded that what we do in public education is of the utmost importance. We are reminded that this business is about our students that we serve. Our schools are a safe haven for many and a place where not only they receive warm meals, but are also mentored by their teachers, their counselors, administrators, staff, and even our bus drivers. At a time when there is so much uncertainty in this world, let us focus on the tasks at hand as a school district. Our students are the lifeblood of what we do. Their safety and well-being are consistently at the top of every decision that we make. As we all leave this meeting tonight, may we be reminded of how precious life is, and may we return home with a renewed resolve to show kindness and love to all. We lift up the family, the friends, teachers, and administrators as they deal with the loss of these two precious students. We ask for an extra measure of strength for them as they walk with the memories they hold and as they comfort the other students and faculty this week. Thank you, Father, as we know that you are always present in all circumstances, and we pray these things in your name. Amen.
And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we not have any students that are doing that today? Okay, we'll take care of it ourselves. All right. Next on our agenda is our Achievement Spotlight, and the first one is from our aviation teacher, Mark Kirk.
Mr. Kirk is actually not going to be with us tonight, so the student who flew the airplane was not able to attend. For those of you in the audience tonight, Granbury ISD was actually proud to announce last week that as many of you know, we purchased an airplane last year as part of our program to teach kids to, part of our program to enable kids to earn their private pilot's license. Last week, we actually sent Jaden Graves up in an airplane by himself, which made me incredibly nervous to give kids, a student, the keys to an airplane and say, hey, go have fun for the next hour. But I watched him as he was up in the air, and he actually did an amazing job. He wanted to be here tonight with his father, but they were unable to attend. So an event came up at the last minute. So we hope to have them back next month, which will be pretty amazing because we do believe that next month Mr. Graves will actually have completed his private pilot's license, making him the first student in GISD to successfully go through the program. So right at about 9 to 10 months, he will have finished the entire program as a senior and certainly we're pretty proud of him. So, Mr. Dawson, anything else you want to add to that? So again, apologize that he couldn't make it. He notified us last minute, but we do want to recognize the accomplishment that he made last week.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, then next on our achievement spotlight will be Kendra Fisher and Kyle Wheatley.
Good evening. This evening, we are very proud to recognize two of our amazing young men from our Granbury High School varsity tenor bass choir. These gentlemen are being recognized for making the all-state mixed choir this year. And just so that everyone is aware, over 10,000 students in the state of Texas began the 4-round Texas All-State Choir audition process this year, and that process begins in September. And students who auditioned prepared 3 new pieces of music for every round, which they progressed in the process. And not only did they prepare new repertoire for each audition, but they also were required to sight sing at 3 of the 4 auditions as well. At the 4th and final round of the audition process, Ashton Lemons placed 3rd chair tenor 1 and Brennan Fisher placed 2nd chair tenor 2 for our entire area. Thank you. And our area is one of the most competitive areas in the state of Texas, so that is really quite an accomplishment. The top scores placed these young men into the Texas All-State Mixed Choir, which is the top choral organization in the All-State process. And just about them, in addition to being leaders in our choral program as section leaders and also members of our GHS Choir Council, they're also active in other GHS organizations, including theater arts and in Junior Optimist Club. Ashton ran cross country this year and is also the president of National Honor Society and a member of the Student Leadership Council. And Brennan is also actively involved in helping lead the Youth Praise Band at church. And in addition to all of these activities, they each rank in the top 10% of their graduating classes. So we are very proud of them and all that they have accomplished this year and all that they provide for our program. We love these guys. Thank you.
Now, I know Miss Fisher is one of the proud parents, but is there any other proud parents in the audience? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, next up, we have Miss Kylie Peterson to talk about our DECA group.
I'm a little short, sorry. Well, this is an exciting moment. When I was hired back in 2019, I was tasked to revive the DECA chapter at Granbury High School. Of course, 4 months later after I was hired, COVID, and then last year was a little crazy. And so this year when I set the goal, let's figure out this DECA thing, I didn't know what DECA stood for until a couple weeks ago, let's be real. In case you're wondering, it's Distributive Education Clubs of America. And told my students about it. They're like, okay, what does this mean? I'm like, I don't know. We stumbled our way. We figured out deadlines. And we had a group that said, okay, let's do this. So we had groups in integrated marketing campaigns, project management, sales project, accounting applications, and principles of management. We're just going to try it all. So prior to competition, there's pieces that they have to do, whether it's a 100-question test or submission of a written statement, a written document. And then back in January, I had 7 kids that said, all right, let's do this. So those 7 kids, we went down to Round Rock to our district competition. And of the 7 that we took, 6 qualified for state. So I'm pretty dang proud of them for not knowing what we were doing. We had 3 qualify in accounting applications. That's where they had to take the test prior. And then at competition, they are giving a role play scenario. They're handed a situation. They have 10 minutes to prepare a response and 10 minutes to impress the judge. And 3 of those students qualified for state. Our team event, our project management sales project, are actually our anchor crew. They used our business model of the anchor store to present about what we do. How do we raise funds to compete in DECA, project goals that we have within the store, and they qualified for state as well. So last week, we went to Houston, again, not knowing what we're doing. I kind of shocked them within the morning. They had 2 role play scenarios at state. Again, we're learning. So while we were at state, the project management sales team, they qualified as finalists. So they made the state stage. Granbury was well represented. They are alternates for the international competition. So I'm hoping someone will drop out so they will get to go to Atlanta. And then we had 1 individual qualify in accounting applications for international. And unfortunately, he can't be here tonight. But overall, Granbury set the stage. We showed state and district, we're here to compete. And this is nothing new. This is what we're doing every day in the business classes. It's not something I introduced. These are just the best of the best at Granbury High School and what they do. I'm super proud of them for believing in me and trusting in me. We figured this out. We made it work. I do want to thank, the weather was coming in. We had no clue if we were going to make it to state, so the finance department and transportation really helped us get things moved up so we could leave on Wednesday to get down to Houston. Thank you to the parents. We have several parents and grandparents here for letting me take the child with me as we competed, and again, not knowing what we do, but we do it very, very well, obviously. And when I say we don't know what we're doing, we don't. So as I've told these students, they are setting the legacy for our business pathway. They are setting the bar for what is to come in our pathway, and expect huge things from DECA. This is something they are proud to be a part of, and you can just see it in their face coming out of competition, knowing they nailed it, and you can't bottle that up. That was just an amazing feat. So what I'm going to do now is introduce them. Hallie Eagle, she was part of our project management team. Weslyn Fry. Amy Hernandez, and she competed in accounting applications. And she'll be one of our leaders next year in DECA, so she has her eye on international for next year. Carter McKay. Lily Welch, and she competed in accounting applications as well. And Alexander Call, he competed in accounting applications. He can't be here, he's touring colleges, but you will see him in Atlanta competing in international. So give them a round of applause.
And while we're getting those pictures taken, are there any proud parents in the audience? If you'll stand up, please. I'm sure you're not surprised how good your kids are. Okay, next we have Sandy Sermarini. Is that pronouncing that right? Good. Oh.
She's a family obligation.
Okay. Heather?
But she's here.
Okay, okay. So we have Heather Bougele and Coach Cheesy, Deidre Cheesy, she's here?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to go ahead and ask our partners from the Y and Kiwanis to also join us up here, please. Hi, Oz. You can stand up. So we get there? Okay, good evening, trustees and Dr. Glenn. An inclusive soccer league has been developed to pilot this spring at the Hood County YMCA for children ages 3 through 18 with adaptive and/or additional needs. We've been fortunate to work with an amazing team of organizations to get this program up and running. Several initial meetings with Jeff Thomas, Carol Ann Dunaway, both from the YMCA, Coach Deidre Cheesy, Sandy Sermarini, and myself from Mambrino were held with a vision of providing more opportunities to support our children in the community with special needs in recreation and leisure. The product of those weekly meetings is a 5-week soccer league that will debut on March 21st and will run through April 30th. As momentum built with our meetings, our team quickly expanded to include the Kiwanis Club, who generously donated $2,500 to the league, the STEAM Academy at Mambrino with the Partner PE Vision led by Coach Cheesy, the Granbury ISD Special Education Department, including Mrs. Kurtzinger and Mrs. Parsons, GHS Ladies Soccer, who will be the referees for our games, the Special Olympics, MHMR, Silver Needle Design for our t-shirts, and Mambrino teacher Hagen Reedy, who is donating her photography services for both individual and team photos for free. We couldn't do this without the combined efforts of all of those involved. Coach Cheesy has an enrichment program at Mambrino that is built on inclusion through Partner PE, which provided a great model to follow for our new program. I'm going to turn it over to Coach Cheesy, who is going to introduce some of our Partner PE students who will also be playing in our new league.
Hello. I'll introduce you, just raise your hand. First off, I have William Bernheide, Callan Buffkin, Bradley Pfeiffer, Sophia Burton, Tyler Holt, Reese Palmer, and Oz Page. Give it to Mom.
Okay, thank you so much for your attention. Our kids are excited to come around and shake your
We're going to
hands.
come down there to them.
Perfect, that sounds great. Yeah, sure.
All right. Here, come through and give him a.
I don't want to be in the picture.
You gotta give him the. Give him the. You gotta give him the.
Sure, sure. Yay! Yay!
That's okay. Good job. Good job. Good job.
Hey, have Can I have a hug? Oh, yeah. Thank y'all so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, how are you?
She's praying for you.
Y'all are awesome.
And while they take that picture, how many proud parents do we have in the audience for these great kids?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The partners that are making this happen, thank you so much. Every single one of you has a heart of gold, and being able to do this for these children is fantastic. So thank every single one of you. All right, we are now ready for open forum and public comments. We have one person who has asked to speak. And so, Kennedy Tackett, if you'll come up, please.
Hi, how are y'all doing? I am here to talk about the book ban. Surprise, surprise. We spoke up at the last board meeting asking the district not to remove any of the books from our libraries. Students believe in the freedom to read, and today a letter was sent out telling the district to put our books back, all of them. And I'd like to read a few pieces of this letter. As organizations committed to protecting civil liberties and rights, racial justice, LGBTQ+ equality, and education equity, we write to express our deep concern about Granbury ISD's recent removal of books from its library shelves. We urge that the Granbury ISD immediately remedy this violation of the First Amendment, the Texas Constitution, and Granbury ISD's own policy by immediate reinstatement of the removed books and a return to long-standing policies and procedures. Further, the district should publicly acknowledge its grave missteps in taking these actions and affirm its commitments to the LGBTQ+ and racial inclusivity, and to educating its students on the history of racism and racial injustice in the United States. The district must take these urgent steps to protect students protect against the suppression of ideas through book bans. Schools, in particular school libraries, must be a place where students have such broad access to a wide variety of ideas, both the popular and unpopular ones of the moment. Simply put, Granbury ISD cannot remove or ban school library books because district leadership considers the community conservative and wishes to keep students from encountering viewpoints that do not align with the perceived viewpoint. The First Amendment prevents the district from seeking to suppress the idea that the LGBTQ+ people belong and deserve acceptance and inclusion in American society simply because district leadership does not wish students to encounter it. It likewise prevents the district from seeking to suppress messages of racial inclusivity and belonging. Nor can the district bar students from accessing accounts of the United States' long history of racial injustice simply because they may make some parents or students uncomfortable. The comfort of some cannot come at the expense of students' constitutional rights. All removed books must be placed back on the Granbury ISD shelves as swiftly as possible, and the district must revert to its prior policy for challenges to library books and disband its newly created Library Review Committee. The district must publicly acknowledge these errors and affirm its commitment to LGBTQ+ and racial inclusivity and teaching of the history of racism and racial injustice in the United States. These steps are necessary for Granbury ISD to comply with the First Amendment. This letter was signed by the American Civil Liberties Union of Texas, Big Thought, Children's Defense Fund, Equality Texas, Freedom Fighters, IDRA, Civil Rights Protection, and multiple more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tackett. That is the only person that we had to sign up for public comments, so we will now move on to our consent agenda items. Are there any items that any of the trustees would like to pull out and discuss?
I would just like to make a comment. I love where we live. all of these wonderful kids that we got to see tonight, the things that we see represented by these children and their parents, and what a blessing that is. I usually tell you how much money has been donated, and I am so happy tonight to report that in addition to the $2,500 that you heard that Kiwanis donated for those youngsters to be in their special soccer program, I will tell you that Oakwood's PTO donated almost $6,500 for their Austin field trip. Acton Elementary PTO donated over $9,000 for their Austin field trip. First United Methodist Church donated $4,000 to Bacchus School to fund their breakfast and lunch program for the kids who fall through the cracks because they're not eligible for free and reduced, or they are eligible for reduced and don't have enough money, and so that permits them to eat every day even though they don't have the money from home. From the Daughters of American Revolution, they donated almost $1,400 to the MJROTC Activity Fund. And y'all have seen those youngsters here often if you've been here. And then for our robotics team hit the jackpot. Granbury, Mark Franco donated over $1,100. Lake Granbury Marina dedicated or donated $709. TEA to go for the Granbury robotics was $300, and John Bromley donated $500. Folks, that is almost $24,000 that came in to support these kids in their programs. You see those folks, thank them, and give them a hand now, please.
Thank you, Dr. Harrington. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to pull out? Do I hear? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a couple questions I need clarification on for the out-of-state travel.
Go
Absolutely,
ahead.
go ahead.
For the volleyball tournament, it's not clear in here to me exactly how much they're requesting. For the coaches portion of travel, there's not an amount in there.
And Tammy, you want to address that?
Yes, when we talk with Coach Butler, he is willing to give the volleyball team the normal amount that they would have if they did an in-state tournament for coaches' travel, and that's how much he was going to pay towards coaches' travel for out-of-state.
How much is that?
A tournament sometimes will be as much as like $1,500. I'm guesstimating that's a normal amount for a travel for a away tournament.
But
Or
just the coaches portion would be less than that.
Yes, but they're going to do the fees as well to be in a tournament.
So it would be for their room and their per diem?
And
And travel.
there's always a cost to enter a tournament.
Yes.
So that's what they're planning on. And Coach Butler was also wanting to not put PTO money towards coaches' travel.
Right, okay.
For certain reasons, just to make sure that those things are separate.
Okay.
So-
But and then I guess the PTO would be part of the organization's.
Well, yeah, booster
Right.
club, volleyball booster club, or
Volleyball booster
PTO,
club,
yes.
right. Okay.
Any parent organization. He doesn't want any of his booster clubs paying for
Okay.
the coaches' travel.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda items?
Madam President, I move that we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
And I will second.
Thank you, Dr. McDonald. Mr. Moore motioned, Dr. McDonald seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Go, okay. Next, we have consider approval of the child nutrition equipment purchase of kitchen appliances. Mr. Emmett Whitefield.
Thank you, Madam President. Board, in front of you, you have the child nutrition kitchen appliances purchased. The bid was let, and there are 5 vendors with different pieces of equipment. The summation is attached for you to see down there. We will be spending approximately $230,000 out of child nutrition's fund balance to fund these pieces of equipment. This is something that the Child Nutrition Department needs, and they do have the fund balance to cover this. And we will be doing a projection on their finances and bringing you a budget amendment at a later date to fund those out of their fund balance.
I'm trying to think back a couple of months ago when we did the audit, they're just over about $500,000 in their fund balance.
Actually, I believe it's $800,000. Yes, $800,000.
They have about 800, perfect.
Sir.
And Emmett, how long, just briefly, you want to just kind of fill the board in on how those funds have to be spent and how much money they're allowed to keep in that fund balance? Because I know it differs greatly from local funds.
It does differ a little. We like to keep about 3 months operating in local funds. It's approximately what we like to do in child nutrition. They do go through a TDA audit periodically. I believe that they just went through one. They do have a little excess fund balance in there, so they do need to spend it down. And with that projection, we will be able to determine exactly how much they need to spend down. This will be a big chunk of that money to get them down within range that Texas Department of Agriculture is approved for their fund balance.
And I do understand it is for all the kitchens.
It is for all the kitchens. The process that they're going through is they're replacing old and outdated equipment that's not energy efficient. The pieces that they do pull out that are still operable will be moved to other campuses where they need more equipment. We're going to use everything that we have on campuses as well to make sure that every campus is fully functional in that kitchen.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on that? Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve the purchase of the kitchen equipment as submitted for in the amount of $230,000.
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion was made by Dr. Harrington. It was seconded by Ms. Gore. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Passes unanimous. Go on to approval of the supplemental bid for CTE supplies and services. Emmett, it's you again.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a supplemental opening of that bid for CTE supplies and equipment. These vendors are vendors that responded to that request. These vendors filled out all the appropriate paperwork. They've signed all the appropriate documents. Nothing will be purchased from these vendors unless it is fully vetted by the CTE department and Mr. Gibson. So basically, these people that we're approving, we're allowed to purchase from, but not necessarily that we will purchase from until Mr. Gibson vets that process.
So in other words, they've turned in the correct paperwork, but we
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
necessarily, okay,
They make it legal for us to purchase from them,
okay.
not necessarily that we're going to.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to make a motion that we accept the supplemental bid for CTE services and supplies as presented.
And I'll second.
Dr. McDonald has made the motion. Mr. Moore has seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion passes. On to the renewal of the auditing firm. Emmett, you're busy tonight.
Yes, ma'am. In front of you, you have the engagement letter that was presented to us from Snow Garrett. They are the auditing firm that we use for the 2021 school year. They have submitted this one for the 22 school year. We have a long working relationship with Snow Garrett. And doing this early in the year gives us time to prepare with them for any data that they were going to need for our audit, which will start in June, and then we'll finish up in October, November in those areas. It's pretty much the same audit engagement letter as in the past. There's a few more things that they're going to do. The engagement letter that you have in your packet does describe what they're responsible for and what we're responsible for. And it's administration's recommendation that we engage this audit committee, or this audit firm for this year's audit.
You said that there's more in it this year?
There's just a couple paragraphs, and it was just a little bit of additional stuff that they have to do within their audit.
Okay,
They're just letting us know what that is.
okay.
Madam President, because they've done an excellent job in prior years, I would like to make the motion that we renew the contract with Snow Garrett.
Second.
Dr. Harrington has made the motion, Ms. Gore has seconded it, and I agree, Snow Garrett has done a wonderful job in the past. They are fantastic with their explanations on how everything's being done. So, with that said, those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Passes unanimous.
Hey, you're the president. You can move things around on the agenda.
She decided to move it.
I guess I did.
I wanted Emmett to talk again.
Emmett, would you like to talk about the budget assumptions and calendar for the 22-23 budget year?
Yes, ma'am. In front of you, you have the budget assumptions and the calendar for this coming year. I apologize, it's really not an action item, and it hasn't been in the past. It is under this section, but it is informational, and I would like to share that with you as well. The first page is the calendar of events that we are going to do for the budget, and then we talk about the fund balance. We don't expect fund balance to change too much in this year. The budget is set to be a balanced budget. However, you know that last year we did add $3.6 million to fund balance. 2.5 of that was actually ESSER 2 funds that we supplanted to make up for hold harmless. We do currently have $6.5 million in committed fund balance for construction projects. As you know, revenue is based on property tax, and it is the lesser of the state compression or the local compression that we get to use for our tax rate. However, we won't know what that is until we start with preliminary values, but there is a description in budget assumptions of how that will be calculated. That will be the maximum that we can charge. Currently, this year, we are expected to send about $5.1 million back to the state for recapture. We don't expect that to change dramatically. It will either be the same or a little less, depending on enrollment. And the enrollment that we're going to be calculating on this year will be 4% increase. We will do a per pupil allocation for campuses. What we do is we take a PIMS report and roll those grades up, and then calculate what we believe pre-K and kindergarten will be, and then we have an enrollment for that campus. We allocate $98 for the elementary campuses, and I believe it's $112 for the middle schools, and then $123 for the high school, and that's per student and enrollment, not ADA, but enrollment, because we fund on enrollment. And then we will go through staffing studies and decide class sizes at the administration level and present that at a later date of what those things are. Again, this is just informational. There's not any action taken on it, and I apologize for it being in this section, but it is information that you did need to know.
Well, I really appreciated it. It was very well written out. It answered a lot of questions that I had had in the past, so I really appreciate how you're able to take something that I don't understand how anybody understands coming from the state government and made it understandable. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did anyone have any questions for Emmett on this? So this is not something we need to vote on. There's no voting to be done on this.
It's really informational, but
Okay.
it's information that you did need.
So thank you. I appreciate it. So see, that's why I skipped it. We didn't have to vote on it. Okay, moving on to the next one. Consider resolution to pay hourly employees for school closure due to bad weather on February 2nd through the 3rd of 2022 and possibly February 24th, 2022. Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Madam President, and that possibly February 21st will be probable February 24th because we did take that day off as well. And the district made the decision to close school facilities due to winter weather conditions and the possibility and probability of dangerous travel for our staff. And so to that end, in order to pay staff for those lost days, the Board of Trustees will need to approve a resolution referencing that the employees are not required to make up those days and that you do find that it does serve a public purpose and benefit GISD to the extent that we are allowed to compensate the employees for these 3 days off due to inclement weather and missed work as part of Texas Education Code 45.105C. And so it'll be my recommendation to approve as presented tonight.
Do we have any questions on this? I think it is definitely the thing to do. Our employees are very important to us. They're what make this whole district work, and we need to take care of them. They take care of us. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we approve as presented to continue to pay employees for the bad weather days that we were off on the 3rd, the 4th, and the 24th.
Okay.
And I will second.
Okay. Ms. Gore had the motion, Dr. McDonald had the second, and those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, it passed unanimous.
Thank you, Board, and we'll make sure that that resolution is included with the minutes.
Thank you very much. We don't need to read it in. Okay, good. All right. Consider and approve a resolution regarding the purchase of real property. Shall we do these separate?
Again, it's the pleasure of the board. I'd definitely recommend that the motion language be separated
Okay.
out, but I think for discussion purposes, you certainly can take G and H together.
All right. Let's go ahead. We'll keep them separate and consider and approve the resolution regarding the purchase of real property totaling 73.178 acres, and also consider and approve a resolution regarding the purchase of real property consisting of 12.674 acres.
Yeah, so thank you. Do we have the ability to put that on the screen, Mr. Mutter? And so what we're talking about tonight, and I know we have some interested individuals from the community, is we're talking about the proposed location for a new high school facility in Granbury ISD. As most of you know, the Board of Trustees called a bond election for this coming May, and the biggest piece of that bond from a monetary standpoint is a new high school facility, not a second high school, but a new high school that allows us to repurpose 3 other buildings in the district. And so I can thank Ms. Townsend, who is our board president, and she actually chaired a committee made up of 2 other trustees for 3 total to find the location, and they looked at land across Granbury and Hood County to find a great location in our district that could serve what's going to be a really massive facility. And so what they came up with was a tract that, when combined, the 2 tracts of land we're talking about tonight with some existing district property, is about 150 acres total. And I think you see that on your screen there, at least most of it. It allows us to make use of some land that the district currently owns behind AMS while simultaneously purchasing a parcel of property on Highway 4 for frontage purposes. And something else that I know was of significant concern for our board, but also our community, was how would it affect traffic flow. And so a couple of things I want to point out with this. First of all, you have the the Acton Highway, which 4 lanes with a divider in the middle, as your south, your south border of the school. To the border to the east is James Road. So those 2 roads are currently in existence. But Jeff, if you'll scroll up, I want to show 2 roads that are not in existence. The first is at the northern border of the property is a future 4-lane undivided thoroughfare, which is on the city's thoroughfare plan. The road itself is known as Hurricane Fly, and it goes all the way from Highway 4 to Fall Creek Highway through the Saratoga subdivision. And then from there, you see a road that will actually border the western side of the high school that will be developed by the ISD, and again, similar to what James Road is there on the eastern border. And if you'll notice inside, something the district is trying to be really intentional about is the entire facility is actually looped by another interior road. One of the problems that we've seen over and over again is as we've gone to campuses and as we've talked to stakeholders is when we release traffic at the end of the day or when students are arriving at the beginning of the day, we push out a lot of cars onto busy really what would be city roads and county roads just across our district. And so, for example, if you're at AES, you know that Acton Elementary School Road is backed up with our traffic twice a day. And so the district with this facility is trying to be intentional to make sure that future roads, Hurricane Fly and the 2-lane road on our western border, as well as James Road and Highway 4, traffic is taken off of those roads and brought onto the 150 acres. At the same time, we'll be addressing several of our elementary campuses that deal with the same problem. Tonight, the focus is this 150 acres. It comes in 2 parcels. Again, one is a 73-acre tract. The other is a 12.674-acre tract that also includes a approximately 2.4-acre easement that will allow Hurricane Fly to be continuous from James Road down to Highway 4. And so, again, I want to thank the board for their work in this matter. You have before you 2 resolutions to purchase property. Emmett's available to answer questions, but for some time now, we've been putting money back into fund balance, knowing that the district potentially would have the need to make a large capital purchase. We did not want to bond out the land. We wanted to be able to go and purchase that with fund balance. We have saved money to make this purchase. And kind of the linchpin in it all is that the district still owns 77 acres that surround the Y, and at some point that certainly could be sold. We're not into the development business, but certainly that is a valuable piece of property, and if we have no desire to build on it, the district could liquidate that to recoup some of the costs from this property. Currently, the contracts are with attorneys and a non-disclosure agreement with both parties. But in order for the board to move forward, we need you to give your blessing to allow Ms. Townsend to finalize negotiations for the property.
Are there any comments or questions about this?
Madam President, I move that we approve the resolution regarding the purchase of real property totaling 73.178 acres, more or less, consisting of 4 parcels of land, legal description of 2 acres, and abstract BBB, CRR County, abstract 75, the legal description of 8.370 acres, abstract BBB, CRR CO, abstract 75, the legal description of 22.47 acres, abstract SM Heron, abstract 587, and legal description of 35.687 acres, abstract R. Marriott, abstract 355, listed under the ownership of Johnny Way Johnny Wayne Rollins Revocable Trust, and legal description of 4.651 acres, R. Merritt Abstract 355, listed under the ownership of Rollins Addition LLC, situated in Hood County, Texas, located at 4734 Acton Highway. And included in that resolution is giving the president the authority to move forward with it.
Do I have a second on that?
And I'll second. That was the easy part.
Thank you.
Okay, and all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? It was unanimous. Dr. Harrington made the motion. Mr. Moore seconded. Going on to the second piece of property, do I hear a motion? It's shorter.
All right, I'll do it. I move that we approve a resolution regarding the purchase of real property consisting of 12.674 acres, more or less, part of the BBB and CRR survey, abstract number 75, situated in Hood County, Texas, located at 4734 Acton Highway, as well as a 70-foot wide access and right-of-way easement.
And I will second.
Mr. Moore made the motion. Dr. McDonald seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you, Madam President. And just as a point of parliamentary procedure, I'm going to read the resolution real quick into the minutes for both.
Thank you.
Again, the language is similar, so if you'll bear with me just a second. The resolution of the Board of Trustees of Granbury ISD for the purchase of real property, whereas pursuant to Texas Education Code 11151, the Board of Trustees of Granbury ISD is authorized to acquire and hold real and personal property, whereas the Board of Trustees is currently acquiring real property for the construction of facilities improvements to meet the needs of students residing in the district, and whereas the real property, both read into the record by Dr. Harrington and Vice President Mike Moore in their motions, was mentioned, whereas the district desires to enter into a real estate contract with the owner and purchase of these properties by the district. Therefore, be it resolved that the findings and recitals in the preamble of this resolution are hereby found to be true and correct, and hereby approved and adopted, that the Board of Trustees of the Granbury Independent School District approve and authorizes the superintendent to negotiate and execute the real estate contract for the purchase of the property, that the superintendent is authorized to tender the purchase price of the property and the amount of closing and other costs to the title company for payment to the owner of the properties to execute any other documents necessary to effect the purchase, that it is hereby found and determined and declared that a sufficient written notice of this date, time, place, and subject to the board meeting of the Granbury ISD Board of Trustees at which this resolution was adopted and posted at the place convenient and readily accessible to at all times to the general public for the time required by law preceding this meeting as required by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, and that at this meeting has been open and made public as required by law at all times, during which this resolution and the subject matter thereof was discussed, considered, and formally acted upon. The Board of Trustees further ratifies, approves, and confirms such notice written thereof, finally passed and adopted on this 28th day of February 2022. And then the certificate for resolution, along with resolutions for both properties, will be included with the board minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Glenn. Okay, we are moving on to reports, and the first one is Superintendent's report. Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd be remiss, every time she comes, I've got to say hello to Mrs. Ledbetter. We're glad to have you with us in Granbury ISD. As you guys know, she is started, I guess, the Ledbetter Scholarships, and when we talk about becoming an educational destination, her generosity certainly is proving to be really really exciting and for our district and for our kids. And it's estimated just through working with our education foundation that her endowment will provide between probably $40,000 and $60,000 annually for Granbury High School graduates. So we're always proud to have her with us. And so the next report will be on COVID, and there's really nothing to report. We continue to move through that. So we're excited that cases have dropped off dramatically, and as we've done since 2020, we'll continue to monitor the situation and be flexible and adjust and pivot as needed. But again, we cannot say enough. I know this has been a stressful year on our campus leadership and our district administration. I look across the room and I see people that have had to cover classes. I see some former teachers that are now counselors that know the burdens of being in the classroom during what has been a difficult year. And I cannot say enough about the leadership in this district. We are blessed, and it's nice to hopefully be moving through what has been a difficult couple of years. And I want to say that we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but I think I've said that multiple times, and it keeps getting darker. So, but I really do feel like as a country, you can kind of feel us starting to move past this a little bit. So, thank you to all of our district leadership. From there, want to address the principals for their hard work. I know several of our elementary principals in our curriculum department. They have been working on district common assessments, pulling in scores. I know several principals have shot emails to me and our executive team bragging on the things that are happening on your campuses. Thank you for that. Through COVID, through the bad weather, through everything we've dealt with, continuing to focus on our kids, on academic improvement, and on excellence. That is certainly where we want to be as a district. So we are grateful for your work there. And I know Kylie Peterson left tonight, but really cannot say enough about what she has done with DECA. And I just kind of made it in my notes. Alex Call couldn't be here tonight, but he is actually going to be an international contestant. Is that right? Or international contest participant. And so really, really amazing work for a first-year program to have somebody competing at that high of a level. So grateful to Kylie, but someone that I give a hard time to quite often that does an outstanding job is Todd Gibson, who is our first-year director of career and technology education, and he truly does have a passion to see kids succeed. When we were watching Jaden go up in the airplane, he was just jumping up and down. He was like a little kid himself. I'm nervous about to have a heart attack, but he was a cheerleader, certainly for sure, for that young man. And so Todd, you're doing a great job, and we appreciate your leadership there. And then finally, I'll remind the board that on Wednesday, I see Ms. Rowleader in the back, we will be at Bacchus. And so we're always grateful that our board wants to invest and have conversations and socialize with our teachers and staff. And so breakfast with the board will be at 7 a.m. this Wednesday at Bacchus Elementary School. And we are looking forward to that, so please put that on your calendars. And Madam President, that is all I have for you tonight.
Very good. Okay. Well, Emmett, you have the last two items, financial statement for the period ending January 31st and cash flow statements for the period ending January 31st. Why don't you just take both of them at the same time?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Board, in front of you, you do have the financial statements for the period ending January 31st, 2022. This includes information from September 1st, 2021 through January 31st, 2022. You can see revenue collected to date equals 65.69% of the budgeted amount compared to 68.56% in 2021 and 76.97% in 2019-2020. The expenditures to date represent 40.05% of the budget compared to 38.76% in 2021 and 39.2% in 2019-2020. Again, in the revenue area, you can see that our investment income is lacking, and that is part of the issue with that. And the expenditures, you look under 51, which is our maintenance area, that the reason for that increase this year over the other years will be the movement of portables to AES, and then the clearing of the land around Oakwoods.
Figured that one.
Okay? And when we get to the investment statement, I did put a little blurb on there that I haven't always put on there, but I wanted you to be aware of it, talking about our long-term investment. We will ride that long-term investment out to maturity, but we will be moving away from that into a more short-term investment practice. The interest rates are a little bit better right now in short-term, and we have access to those funds when we need those. So we will be moving away from that. But there is a little blurb on your investment report there telling that we will ride that out to try to recoup those losses this year. But the way it is right now, when those bonds did decrease in value, it hurt us financially on our financials. But we will hopefully make that back before the end. But we will be moving away from that long-term investment practice.
I imagine rates are going to be going up here pretty quick.
They will, and I'm hoping when those do go up that we will recoup our money that we've lost the first of this year. And that is your financial statements.
Thank you, sir. Did anybody have any questions on those or comments that they wanted to make? All right. Okay, then last on our list, consider action on items discussed in closed session.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, we do have two action items tonight. The first is staff recommendations as put together by Wes Jones in our HR department. Appreciate the great work he does, so it'll be my recommendation tonight that you approve those as presented.
Do I have a motion?
Make the motion to approve the action items as presented.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you. Ms. Gore made the motion to accept the staff recommendations as presented, and Dr. Harrington seconded them, and all that agree, raise your hand. All those against? Fine. Unanimous. And then for the administrative contracts, do I have a motion for that?
Yeah, and I'll just say, again, we come up here and we brag every month about the great job that our campus principals are doing and our district administrators are doing, and so proud to make this recommendation tonight to extend those contracts, part of an amazing team, and would recommend that you approve as presented.
Does anyone have any comments on that? I would like to comment this year for how crazy it's been. Admin has kept things going so well. I have been so impressed with the morale of everybody from the top down to the teachers. You guys have you've been rock stars, and I really do thank you for all you've done. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we take the administrator contracts as presented.
And I'll second.
Dr. McDonald made the motion. Mr. Moore seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? It is unanimous.
Congratulations.
And at this time, I have 7:07, and the board is adjourned for this evening. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Board.